Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Roan. We'll tell you all about them and their commuter collection later on in today's show. But as a reminder, you can get 20% off by using promo code ChatSports over at roan.com/chatsports. A slightly different show on tap for today. Bleacher Report doing Bleacher Report things, coming up a wild, bonkers, crazy, complicated three-team trade idea between the Cowboys, Cardinals, and Lions. It's unique, it's different, it's a lot of people, a lot of picks and players involved. It's June, why not spend some time on it? Before we get to that, though, if you haven't already, please subscribe to us here on the Cowboys Report. We are almost out of time. Look, we're not going to beat the Eagles. That's fine. We've got double the subscribers, almost triple the subscribers, so we'll take the L, I guess, from them. But I think we can still catch the Giants. We're not that far behind, and I want to make sure the Commanders do not catch us. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos, multiple ones every single day. All right, the wild and wonky three-team trade idea that Bleacher Report hyped as would turn the NFL upside down. I don't think this actually does that, but whatever. Cardinals get Brandin Cooks, a third-round pick from Dallas, and a fifth-round pick from Detroit. The Cowboys get Donovan Peoples-Jones, Craig Reynolds, Hendon Hooker, and a 2026 third-round pick from the Lions. And the Lions get Budda Baker, the safety, the top asset, obviously, of this trade. That's kind of complicated to try to piece together who goes where. Let's look at it this way. Here's what the Lions get and what the Lions send. Lions get Budda Baker in exchange for Hendon Hooker, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Craig Reynolds, and a 2025 fifth-round pick. That's kind of a good deal for the Lions. They're giving up three backups, maybe DPJ starts, and a fifth-round pick for a starting safety. The Cardinals, meanwhile, get a starting wide receiver in Brandin Cooks, a 2025 third-round pick from Dallas, a fifth-round pick for Budda Baker. Pretty good deal, I think, for the Cardinals, too. The Cowboys, meanwhile, give up Brandin Cooks and a third-round pick, the highest third-round pick in this package, for Donovan Peoples-Jones, Hendon Hooker, Craig Reynolds, and a third-round pick from the Lions in 2026. Okay. I have thoughts on that one, but would you do that wild and wonky three-team trade? Why for yes and for no? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Would you make that trade if you were the Cowboys? Look, there's a lot going on here. You got 8 different assets in total being flip-flopped between 3 teams. In the end, moving Brandin Cooks and a third this year is not really a move I like when you're not getting back one of the premium assets in this deal. I would argue that this is how the asset should be ranked. In the trade that went down there, the top 4 assets, I think there's a pretty big delineation for the top 4, by the way, are Budda Baker, obviously, the 2 third-round picks, and Brandin Cooks. So Dallas is giving up 2 of the top assets, a third and Cooks, in exchange for, let's say this, you're trading down from a third to a third next year. For a backup quarterback, who's old, by the way, a fifth-round pick, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Craig Reynolds. By the way, the 5th through 7 rankings, I think they're somewhat even. Hooker's above them, though. The Lions gave up a 5th-round pick for Donovan Peoples-Jones last year. Now that's worth less. So the 5th is, I think, a good barometer of, okay, we know what that's worth there for DPJ. I think Brandin Cooks at this time is still worth more than a 5th and change than what the Cowboys give up to get him. And we know future third-round picks are worth around less. I don't like moving the 2 and the 4 assets to get 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's a big difference between number 1 and number 2, I would argue, and number 3, number 4, and everything else. I don't think that's a good trade for Dallas if the goal is to win games now, which has been a point I've made in the past when it comes to Bleacher Report trying real hard to trade away Brandin Cooks. More on this and who those other players are the Cowboys got in this hypothetical trade. But first, today's show is made possible by Roan. The mail closet was due for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up and delivered with polos like this and so much more. They have products for every occasion: pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, and blazers. Their signature 4-way stretch fabric is breathable, flexible, and works everywhere, from commute to the work itself to the 19th hole, drinks, dinner, whatever. Roan's got you covered. They also have Gold Fusion anti-odor technology for more wears between washes, and their wrinkle release technology is 100% machine washable, so there is no dry cleaner needed. The Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS. Save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you go to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS to find your corner office comfort. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. This idea of trading Brandin Cooks is one Bleacher Report really wants to make happen, and I hate it. They continue to push the idea of, well, you save $8 million in salary cap space so you can pay Dak Prescott and or CeeDee Lamb and or Micah Parsons. Here's the thing, Bleacher Report. I can pay all three of those guys right now, whatever they want within reason. I'm not going to give, Lamb $50 million, etc. And I save salary cap space. I pay Dak Prescott, I bring that cap hit down $20 million as much. I pay CeeDee Lamb, I can bring that down 10. I can pay Micah and not impact my cap right now. So I do not need to trade away Brandin Cooks to save money when, oh, by the way, I'm not really paying anybody next year. This whole the Cowboys are in bad salary cap space is a narrative pushed by the front office with the idea of, well, what happens if we don't pay anybody? Then you limit your own flexibility and your spending mechanisms, and it makes it more challenging. Just pay them, and it's actually easier. I know that sounds weird. That's how you can structure contracts. You do not have to trade Cooks to pay Lamb. It is actually very easy to keep both guys for this season. So give me your one-word reaction to this. I almost gave my one word away there. To this Cowboys trade idea. Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show, your one-word reaction. I guess I did kind of give it away a little bit earlier. Bonkers or complicated? I think both work. There's a reason why we don't ever really see three-team trades in the NFL compared to what's about to be chaos in the NBA free agency cycle, because it's just not how the NFL is set up to work. It's not how player movement happens. Now, in the interest of giving Bleacher Report their arguments and not just, picking and choosing what I want to discuss, here's what they wrote on the other assets for the Cowboys. Quote, the Cowboys would also come with a pair of budget role players in wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones and running back Craig Reynolds. Both could be more valuable in Dallas than they are in Detroit. The current Cowboys backfield committee of Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and Royce Freeman leaves plenty to be desired. While Peoples-Jones hasn't found his way in Detroit, he was an 800-yard receiver in his final full season with the Cleveland Browns. So here's the production from DPJ. He was not good in Detroit last year or in Cleveland. He had a really good 2022 campaign that kind of seems like an outlier season. Of the assets you get, I think there is some value there in Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he was also flipped for a fifth at last year's trade deadline. I think that should indicate what the value really is at this time. You trade away Brandin Cooks. Who here thinks DPJ fixes your wide receiver 2 spot? You are actively getting worse at wide receiver. I don't know if DPJ's better than Jalen Tolbert. He might be. If DPJ got cut, I'd have some interest in him. But trading away assets to make him my 2 or my 3, and then having him for a year and then he's got to move on, I don't get that. I really don't. Running back, meanwhile, look, I get that they need help in the backfield. You guys have heard me say it a dozen to 5 dozen times now. The running back room is not very good. Craig Reynolds doesn't help you. This is a career journeyman through and through. Played for the Commanders in 2019. Spent a year and a half basically with the Atlanta Falcons. Goes to Jacksonville. Latches on eventually with the Detroit Lions. But again, my issue here is this. He hasn't done anything. Craig Reynolds was not productive last year. He had 41 carries, 23 carries in 2022, 55 carries. We're talking about a guy that got outplayed by Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman's a better player right now than Craig Reynolds. There's special teams value, sure. Why? Let's not pretend that, you get Craig Reynolds to help the running back room. He might not make the team. How does that help me? Like, who does it when you get the chance to acquire a 28-year-old journeyman running back who's barely put up 100 to 200 yards over the course of his career season? You got to do it, right? Come on. Don't just give me assets and gaslight me saying, he could be better in Dallas. Why? He's 28 years old. Come on. Meanwhile, Hendon Hooker is maybe the more intriguing asset because of the position he plays here. Bleacher Report writes that Dallas could also get some quarterback insurance in the form of 2023 third-round pick Hendon Hooker. There's a real chance the Cowboys can't keep Prescott beyond this season, and backup Trey Lance is also set to be a 2025 free agent. Hooker's future in Detroit is uncertain at best following Jared Goff's 4-year extension, but it could give Dallas a quarterback to develop. So, I want you guys to rate your interest level in Hendon Hooker. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, of course, on the low end, 10 on the high end. How interested are you in adding him to the Cowboys quarterback room? I had a third-round grade on Hendon Hooker. He was almost identical to where he went. So I think I had Hooker pegged properly. So in the right deal, sure, I've got interest. Specifically, if I'm not giving up better assets to acquire him, right? I'm talking like if you want to send me like a 5th-round pick, like, okay, we can have that conversation. There are issues here. A, Detroit only has Nate Sudfeld backing up Jared Goff. So I think this uncertain future is BS. He's the backup. That's his role. He also didn't play last year, coming off of a bad knee injury at Tennessee. And my biggest issue here is if we're trying to frame this as, well, you can develop him and he can be your starter down the road. He's 2 years older than Trey Lance is, right? We know that, right? He turns 27 years old before this season ends. So we can make there's more NFL development to come for Hendon Hooker. Sure, he's also 2 years older than Lance. So yeah, there's more team control. Lance is younger. And you already invested a lot into Lance. You can't really give the playing time reps to Lance and Hendon Hooker. You'd have to pick one. So unless you're going to move Lance too and sell and get bad value back, I really don't think that trade makes any sense for Dallas.